This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Dangote Refineries has called out international oil companies for attempting to sabotage their operations. This accusation is contained in a statement by the Vice President of Dangote Industries, Devakumar Edwin, who faulted as well the Nigerian midstream and downstream petroleum regulatory authorities' granting of licenses for the importation of diesel and aviation fuel to other licensees while ignoring the homegrown capacity of the privately owned refinery to meet market demands. Joining us this morning on the conversation is oil and gas expert Ayodele Oni. Mr. Oni, good morning and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Good to have you here. Mr. Oni, what do you make of this particular accusation out of the Dangote refineries?
Okay, you can look at it from a more than one perspective. It's in business to make money, and also the regulators do have the powers to issue licenses. I think there are two points. First, it said that the IOCs are frustrating in terms of either not making the crude available or making it too expensive, more expensive than what it should be. Now, under the law, there's the domestic crude supply obligation where oil companies, IOCs, juniors, everyone is supposed to reserve a particular reserve quantities for domestic refining. So yes, he's got a valid point that there should be crude reserve for domestic refining. But you would also recall that a number of IOCs, even including the NNPC, which is an NOC, the National Oil Company, have done forward sale arrangements where they've sold future crude for current financing, right? So they take money now for crude they haven't even produced. So that's going to be part of the hindrance to his ability to get crude. So he's got valid points as a businessman. And really, it's true that the government should support local businesses because government's primary role in business is ensuring that businesses can run their businesses with ease, right? So it's got valid points, but it might not be the full story.
So, part of this particular statement talks about the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority granting licenses. Dangote Refineries describes this as an indiscriminate granting of licenses to marketers who are importing dirty refined products into the country. And I want to address this because the refinery has as well said that they have the capacity to produce refined products for the Nigerian market, and they've also said that this is something that they are able to do for the rest of the world. They have been exporting as well. What do you make of this particular statement?
Okay, well, it'd be unfortunate where that's the case. I do know him. I do not know. I don't have all of the information. But it's about competition, right? If he does produce locally, his prices should be lower, particularly if it gets crude locally and then refined locally. You cut off a lot of costs, haulage, international insurance, the number of ship-to-ship, and a number of those things. So 20-25, maybe even 30% of the cost may be off. So it should be cheaper. But the point then is if these guys go get poor quality crude, poor quality finished product, rather, then it may end up being cheaper than is and may frustrate what he's already doing.
No.
So that's true. So you need to have a standard. If it's correct, then there is a challenge, and the authority ought to then stick up if it's true. But I don't know for a fact that it's true or it's the complete story. So if it's the complete story, then it would be a bad thing to do, particularly where people import substandard or poor quality dirty fuel.
So, as far as the standards of petroleum products are concerned, they are, of course, standards that are acceptable on the international market. Can you speak to us about Dangote's accusation regarding what's being imported and distributed in the Nigerian market versus what they say is the internationally accepted standard, which is what they produce? Are we dropping
Okay,
standards? Do such standards actually exist for the Nigerian market?
okay. If it's true, these are allegations, and you know that are factually correct. You can't make a judgment call. You can only make conditional statements so that if it's correct, then it's a problem. If it's correct, then it's a bad situation. To be honest, and more then needs to be done by even the presidency, because remember that the president is the minister of petroleum. You've only got state ministers for gas and for petroleum. Yeah. So if it's true, then the president needs to take further steps. To be honest, and it's that situation, because there are, generally speaking, but to also be completely honest, each country does have its own standards. I do not think that it's also absolutely correct to say there's a universal standard for crude. But of course, that's why you hear, even for crude, you hear sweet crude, you hear bread crude, you hear, even there's the Nigerian crude quality. But in terms of finished product, there's no absolute standard for the world. It's that different countries have their own standards. That's why if you go to our pumps, if you go to the pumps in North America, even in Europe, you see that there are 2 or 3 or even 4 blends of PMS in the filling station, and they are different prices. In Nigeria, we've got, just generally speaking, one, and if you drive cars that require premium quality, you may need to buy. You see guys buying oil treatment or something. So it could be a good argument on Dangote's part that our standard shouldn't be the lowest. So it may well be the case that we are compromising on what should be a minimum standard, but there isn't really, to be honest, what's an absolute world standard.
So
In my own view.
we've also seen Dangote Refinery push back their expected delivery date of refined products into the Nigerian markets. They originally said it was going to happen in June. It's been pushed back to July. But as part of this statement, they have also said that they have been exporting diesel and aviation fuel to Europe and other parts of the world. I wonder if this then presents a kernel of truth in terms of their cry about how they are unable to compete in the local markets because other products, which they say do not meet the standards, are being distributed in Nigeria.
Okay. Two questions. Why are they pushing back? Normally, when you have a major project like this, you meet unexpected challenges, and then and recall that when it comes to refining, it's at different levels. You even get to naphtha before you get to PMS. PMS is what we call petrol that we use for our cars. Diesel is the AGO. So you have done diesel, you may even have done aviation fuel before you get to naphtha and then you get to PMS. So, and it's about tracking and all, and additional equipment, and ensuring that all of those are in place and you get sufficient food to be able to get to that point. So you may have experienced challenges and then have had to push back. Now, in terms of its ability to export, I think the refinery as it is can refine beyond what we require as Nigeria. So it's not out of place for him to be able to export, to be honest. Yeah, it may be also a combination of him being frustrated in the Nigerian market and even having excess. It's not necessarily mutually exclusive that because of his frustration, he's now only able to export. I think 250,000 barrels or much more, we don't do more than at best 3/4 of that in terms of consumption. So he will, even at full capacity and at full utilization in Nigeria, we can't take all of the products it does turn out from the refinery. So the conditions are not necessarily mutually exclusive with respect to the second point. And with respect to the first point, delays do occur when you have a major infrastructural project like that.
Right. Well, Mr. Oni, thank you very much for your time and your expertise on this conversation. Ayodele is an oil and gas. Ayodele Oni is an oil and gas expert, and he joined us this morning to speak on an accusation by Dangote Refineries that international oil companies are attempting to sabotage their operations.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.